I started the night shift job at the old high school thinking it would be easy, quiet, and uneventful, the kind of job where you just walk the halls, occasionally check the doors, and wait for morning. The building was huge, with long, dimly lit corridors and classrooms filled with empty desks and chalkboards, the kind of place that feels different when no one is around. That first night, I was just getting used to the layout, the echo of my footsteps bouncing off the walls, the hum of the fluorescent lights buzzing above. Everything seemed normal, and I told myself not to get spooked by the creaks and groans of an old building. But by the third night, things started to feel off. I noticed how the silence wasn't peaceful but heavy, like the air itself was thicker. I was doing my rounds, checking windows and doors, when I heard a soft whisper coming from the auditorium down the hall. At first, I thought it was the wind, but the windows were all shut tight. Curiosity pulled me closer, and as I got near, I heard it again, words too faint to understand but definitely human. I shined my flashlight inside the darkened room, but it was empty, just rows of empty seats and the stage draped in shadows. I told myself it was probably someone messing around, or maybe a stray animal, but the pit in my stomach told me otherwise. Later that night, while monitoring the cameras, I saw something strange, a shadow moving across the second floor hallway. It was quick, and almost like it vanished into thin air. I grabbed my radio and called the main office, but there was no answer, just static. The feeling of being watched grew stronger, and when I checked the windows, some were fogged up from the inside. Even though the weather was dry and cold, I kept telling myself to stay calm. Maybe it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But then came the knocking. It started softly at first, tapping on the window of the security office. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. The knock came again, louder this time, slow and deliberate, like someone was trying to get my attention. I looked around, but there was no one outside, just the empty parking lot bathed in moonlight. I picked up the phone to call for backup, but the line was dead. Then the lights flickered and the power cut out, leaving me in darkness for what felt like forever. When the emergency lights kicked in, I saw a figure standing at the end of the hallway, a man in a janitor's uniform, motionless, staring right at me. The radio crackled to life with static, and a voice whispered, "Don't trust the night shift." I blinked, and the figure was gone, but the fear stayed with me the rest of the night. I kept hearing footsteps pacing outside my door, but every time I checked, there was nothing there. The next day, I asked the day staff about the janitor. The ones who worked during the day said the old janitor had retired years ago after a tragic accident, a fall down the stairs that left him badly injured. He never came back, but sometimes people said they saw him roaming the halls at night. I started digging into the school's history and found old newspaper articles about several accidents and unexplained disappearances over the years, some involving students, others staff. It seemed like the school had a dark past buried beneath the surface. The deeper I looked, the more stories I found of strange noises, footsteps no one could explain, and sightings of shadowy figures that disappeared when approached. On one particularly cold night, I was walking near the old gym when I heard crying coming from the locker rooms. I called out, but no one answered. I cautiously opened the door, and the sound stopped. Suddenly the lights flickered, and I saw writing on the wall in what looked like faded red paint, words that said, "Stay away." I reported it to the school authorities, but they brushed it off, saying it was probably vandalism or a prank. But I knew better. There was something about that place, something that wasn't right, and it was watching, waiting. As the weeks went by, I became more and more on edge. Every noise, every shadow seemed to hold a threat. I started carrying a small recorder to capture what I was hearing, the whispers, footsteps, and knocks. I caught snippets of voices talking about pain, regret, and something waiting to be freed. One night, the recorder picked up a scream that chilled me to the bone, a sound no person should make. I knew I couldn't keep doing this alone, so I reached out to a local historian who specialized in haunted places. She told me the school was built on land that used to be a small cemetery, and that there had been several fires and accidents that had never been fully explained. The restless energy of those lost souls might be lingering. I didn't want to believe in ghosts, but the experiences were real, the fear was real, and I had no answers, only the growing certainty that something haunted those halls, and it wasn't going anywhere on my last night. I was checking the basement, which was used for storage and long abandoned. When I heard footsteps behind me, I turned slowly, but no one was there. The air grew cold and heavy. Then I felt a hand brush against my shoulder. I spun around to see nothing but a cold breeze that whispered in my ear, "You can't leave." I left that job the next day and never went back, but the memories stayed with me. The fear, the loneliness, the feeling that something was always just out of sight, watching, waiting for the next night shift. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon so you'll be the first to know whenever a new horror story drops.